Hey everyone, Ivy League Gaming here, and today we're playing Dragonheir Silent Gods. For today's video, we're going to talk about some teaser information that we have regarding the Lunar Halo Radiance event. So I'm not going to do a full event breakdown, but we'll give the TLDR, right? So this is going to be very similar to the UTR event from Season 1. This is the Season 2 special event to get a free legendary hero, Ardreth, who is really wonderful. It's going to be just like the event with the Continental bosses, and we're going to have to get Lunar Halo shards instead of Shadow Amethyst to acquire this hero. You can already see her in the shop, which we'll go to. But it looks like, yeah, so this Moonlight Dungeon is going to be the same thing as the Shadow Dungeon. At first I thought it sounded like it was going to be an actual dungeon, but no, different dungeons to get points. It's going to be just like the last event where it was broken out into doing, like, completing events for dungeons, really, like Farm Grave of Venom, and then you get points at the end. Farm Grave of Rot, you get points at the end. So this is going to be a way to get points, and then there will be summons as a way to get points, or I should say, not points, but shards. And then Continental Challenge bosses will be the other way to get points. Doing the best you can on the bosses is really key. It's the best way to ensure you don't have to summon a lot to get the shards, to get the hero. So that is kind of where this video is going to focus. I'm going to talk about the Continental Challenge bosses so you guys can prepare now and start building out your roster overall for, yeah, having enough teams to fight the bosses. So remember last time there was, let's see, how much does it say? Yeah, it's gonna be the same thing. 4 rounds of bosses will be available, each lasting 7 days. So I think it's gonna be the same anyway, where you could fight, you had a certain amount of attempts every day, right? And then each day the amount of attempts would increase. But there were X amount of bosses, and yeah, you could fight them. And they, depending on how well you did damage-wise, you were able to get some really good points toward the Lunar Halo shop event, and plus some good roads along the way. But this here is like, obviously it's gonna be just like just like UTR, where you could have to get 200 of the Lunar Halo shards to get this amazing hero, and she is going to be fun. Some people called her Garius 2.0, but she's not at all Garius, not even the slightest. But she's gonna be amazing at enabling Garius to be even better. For me, I say her plus Garius is going to be a powerhouse combo. But she's not going to replace Garius in most comps because she's only granting 1 hero healing at a time. And then she boosts all the healing overall. If you have someone else AoE healing, that's going to be great. But she's not going to be healing a whole team at once. In some cases that might be okay, but in others you might need full team heals. Alright, so the reason we're here is to react. We are going to watch a video here from a moderator slash content creator, Kelsey or Toby. So Toby here already put out a video on the event. This is a little bit of a sensitive subject because a lot of us content creators are not happy with the fact that we haven't had a proper test server when they're doing such specific content related requests for us. And so only a few people actually have a real test server right now where they can see this event. But it's not this person's fault, so I'm not gonna hate on them and just use their info. I want to give credit where credit is due. We're gonna watch his video. So I'm gonna link him in the description in the pinned comment. Make sure you go give him a sub, support him. Go watch the quick video as well to support after we're done here. Go watch it. It's only 3 minutes. Give him some views as well. But yeah, let's see what this is about.
Today I will show you the upcoming event to obtain the event exclusive hero, Ardreth. I will showcase Ardreth in a separate video for later. Have fun. The event is split into 3 different parts you need to participate in. The World
Same
Boss
as before.
event, the Dungeon Run event and the Summon event. Each event can grant you different amounts of token for Ardrith. 90 for dungeons, 60 for summon, 90 for bosses.
Yep, same as before, I believe. Alright, different dungeon runs. Yep, do Grave of Venom, exactly. Just like it was for UTR, so it really is exactly the same setup. But this is what's different. This is what's different. We have a new set of bosses, and that's what I want to look at today. I want to quickly look through each boss so we can plan to have the appropriate matchup ready to go. Obviously, I'm kind of hoping it's like it was before, where instead of being able to do all the bosses on the first day, which is overwhelming to have 6 teams ready all of a sudden, I think, although we can prepare now, I think I liked it better where it's like you're stuck at having, only like 3 at first, and then 4, and then 5, and then 6 attempts, you know? So eventually we're gonna, or maybe it'll be all at once. I guess we'll see. Let's go into the day 1 here. I think it's a day 1 of the event. So we are going to have the milestones of 11 mil or 22 mil will be the big goal, 7 mil at least, right? So he's going to take us to these different spots on the map so we can see exactly what this looks like. Again, chief challenges, continental challenges, they called them before. Each have let me let him say.
A weakness that deals 100% more damage against them. Alton, cold damage Talware, lightning damage Urzilas, fire damage Jern, radiant damage Shanaten, necrosis.
Alright, let me pause that. Let's look at one at a time. So Jern here is going to take more damage from radiant enemies. So what do we need for a radiant team in order to beat Jern? So that's going to be the first key. So let's take a look at him in game. So we're going to go to Jern. So Jern is a support hero, actually. But let's see, he takes less fire damage. Additionally, when hero takes fire damage, blah, blah, blah. There's a 30% chance of recharging his ultimate energy. So we're not gonna, you definitely don't want to bring fire against this guy, number 1. But luckily, that's not a synergy with Radiance, so you shouldn't be tempted. That's pretty good. Alright, so he's like the anti-fire. But he does have this straight band of attack. So when you position your people on the map, you're going to want to position your ranged people to not be in those 3 center squares. You're going to want to position them on the outsides to avoid his blast here in the middle, where he's going to hit 5 times and put attack penalty 2 on heroes. The flames also backfire on the hero. He actually damages himself, though. He's a little bit quirky. But the battle skill, if you want to avoid that, you're going to want to put people, again, not in that band of 3 rows. But he does also have this, so you have to consider your positioning for this. So ideally, I think this is going to be the kind of thing where... Yeah, all right, hold on, let me read it. Enemies within range reducing their ultimate energy by 25% and with a 75% chance of dispelling all their buffs. 100% chance. Okay, so 100% chance to do that. So he's going to dispel buffs. I don't think he can dispel rally, so I think we're okay. I actually don't know. I've not been one to do a lot with rally myself, as I don't have Filto. So not sure how I feel about that. But if you had Filto, this is going to be an interesting one, because if you have Filto, you kind of need to put him in the line of fire so he actually can hit the damn boss with his ultimate. Because then they're going to be in each other's line of fire, which is interesting, but true. But I don't have Filto personally, so I'm going to have to get creative. So you could have resistance to resist the ultimate energy on your tank, and whoever's going to take this hit. So this is going to be another situation where you want to position people, like 2 people in one corner up here, and one in the back, one in the one front, and another in the one spot back, very other corner. And then you're going to want to have 2 people that are tanking the focus of this boss, that are going to take the big hit purposefully. So you might need 2 people that have decent resistance if you don't want to have their buffs dispelled or have their ultimate energy reduced. So keep that in mind for this boss. So is it going to be hard? I'm a little bit worried because obviously melee damage dealers tend to be a bit squishy. So bringing in like a Hedgeo, while he could do a ton of damage, he might die easily. I guess it's really going to depend on your support. Luckily, we have good supports with Garius or Catherine and Quarion, Meredith, or the big ones like Acilia as well. So that's going to be helpful here. But at the end of the day, I think it's gonna be worth testing melee against him, even though he's gonna take some smacks. We just might have to sacrifice a little damage for some survivability on someone like a Hedgeo if you are going to use a melee rally hero as the Radiant DPS. Alright, so personally, Radiant damage is not my forte. I don't have a great rally team right now. I have Alton and Hedgeo, and that's about it, which did struggle a bit in the last Continental Challenges. So, although Filto, again, is going to have to be in the line of fire, so that's a complicated one to think about as well. But I guess you could still have a couple people tanking the focus in the front, too. But I feel like this is going to be a boss that I do more last, because I don't think I would have the people personally. But let's continue looking at the others.
Damage Shanuten, necrosis damage Lysenia, poison damage.
Alright, let's see the next one. Gonna walk down. Yeah, I think these are in the same spots they were at too, so they really are kind of just copying the UTR event 100%. Chief Challenge. Shinocton. All right, there he is. Shinocton is going to take more damage from Necrotic. So this is going to be interesting. So we know he is a Thunderbolt hero, one of the new heroes. So let's go ahead in here to Thunderbolt. I do have Shinocton. So Shinocton has a passive, let's see, it uses lightning to strike up to 2 random enemies, inflicting electrocute. And electrocute is going to do kind of like chain damage. And let's see, up to additional targets. I think you need to space out. But it's a lightning chain. So I think you're kind of screwed either way. But I think you're safer up to 4 additional targets, as long as you position people separated. Kind of like how you do burn, if I remember right. Because this is like the new boss. The way the boss for Season 2 is set up for the Tempest domain. The boss does electrocuted now. So you have to like leave spaces between your heroes so you're not taking additional damage. So it's going to be a lot of proper spacing. Melee is going to probably not be ideal with that in mind, because you don't want a couple people next to each other to take extra damage. But he's also going to grant a buff up for himself and allies in this case, which will just be himself. So you're probably going to want someone that's going to dispel debuffs. I don't know that we really are dispel buffs or prevent them. In Necrotic, not sure we really have that. But Necrotic and Fire are paired up this season. So keep in mind, it's not like your whole team has to be that one thing. You just want your DPS to be Necrotic. So I would say having Liko maybe might be an answer, honestly. Yeah, because if we want to make sure he does not have this buff up, we have Necrotic and Fire together. So I think we could use Liko from the one we got from Pillar of Trial. I think she'll be pretty helpful. Or Farrar, the Fire. I'm gonna probably build Ferrara, honestly, because they bring a buff prohibition and accuracy or dispel of buffs. So this might be the good answer for dealing with the boss's increased attack. That's something to keep in mind as well. So we'll have to see how she does. She is ranged, so that's good. But that might be a go-to. Otherwise, the other one I mentioned was Liko to deal with the buffs. Other than that, you're just going to be spacing people out and do whatever you can for survivability. But that's going to be really hard in Necrotic, because a lot of the Necrotic support is about like having people grouped together. If you're going to use her as a tank with Necrotic for the sake of the 5-man synergy, her healing, or sorry, her shields are based on people being close to her, which you're not going to want for this boss. Luckily, Adolphus is going to be huge here. Adolphus will probably be Adolphus and Ferrara. I'm calling it. Those are going to be the supports. He does a full board shield after hitting, so he's going to attack. This is his attack, but then he shields all allies. That's full board. So that's going to be some really great support. He's going to be huge for this. I don't know what we're going to do for just normal healing, though. It's going to be interesting because we don't really have the ideal people for the heals. It's going to be a little bit messy. Zarloth, I guess, will probably be an answer because at least he brings heal here. It's just unfortunately not going to hit all allies. Wait, heals all allies in the meantime. Oh, it's all. Never mind. I forgot. It's a full board heal. Zarloth does a full board heal, but then this formation is just his attack. So he'll bring that, and he'll bring a heal. Where is it? Where else? Oh, yeah, it is here. His passive also brings extra healing. So while I think we cannot crowd control the bosses, so that's not going to be important, I think for the sake of his healing, which is based on attack, bringing Zarloth in as a main damage dealer will be huge for this boss. Maybe even someone, oh boy, I'm trying to think, who will be our tank? We don't need to avoid crowd control, so Irma doesn't need to tank. You definitely could use a Solde if you're going to have her there. Especially if you're going to have Questa, you're going to want a Solde next to her. Questa can do a ton of damage and decrease her ultimate energy, and she heals herself, so she's really easy to keep alive as a melee damage dealer. So, and she applies attack penalties. That might kind of be my go-to is Questa and Zarloth for DPS. I don't know about the summons. I don't know if the summons are really going to be worth it. Personally, I don't have a lot of summon heroes. I just have like these quirky, fun heroes here. Maybe we could play around with this guy and his ultimate energy reduction and attack penalty. Maybe Dulk will be an interesting one as well to use here too. I guess you could use Quaesatia as a tank because she's going to bring at least attack penalty, but she's not going to bring... Oh, and she brings a recharging speed. Okay. So recharging speed penalty and attack penalty and reducing ultimate energy. So that's going to be her thing. Yeah, she could be pretty solid as a tank for this boss as well because... Oh, if you have other options for healing. I just don't know how we're going to heal. It's a really hard synergy to have healing. Relying on shields from Adolphus is great, but you can only shield so much. You gotta heal eventually. I don't know if Zarloth is going to be enough, but I think that's going to be what we have to try versus this boss, unless you have the OP legendaries, which I'm only mentioning lightly because most people probably don't. All right, let's go to the next one. All right, so on the map here is like there's another... Yep, over there was where Oster was last time. So we're going to head on over. This is kind of how it looks, guys. If you haven't done this before, your UTR event is going to be very similar. If you're watching this as a Season 1 person and you haven't done the UTR event. And sure enough, our other frosty girl is there, Losenia. So, all right, Losenia is our other boss here. And she's going to take more damage from poison. So when we look at Losenia, she's simple enough to talk about. She's going to be just like the other where you're going to want to avoid... Oh, where am I going? You're going to want to avoid her ultimate range by positioning people properly, which will mean people in the corners plus one more next to one of those people, then having two people up toward the front line, either two people on the front line or one tank on the front line and then one ranged person right next to him, or just one spot behind where he will hang back a little bit but still take a hit. So either way, when someone has this formation as the enemy, you want to make sure that you can have two people ready to take the hits. So she inflicts frost, which can be dispelled or prevented. So you can definitely try to deal with the debuffs or put up, you know, prevention. So right now, lightning and poison are together, right? So she's just going to be doing basic damage, and she's going to deal stuff with frost. So she's not too complicated. It's pretty simple. Some AoE damage, marks an enemy, does more damage. But really, we're going to be going against her with poison and lightning. Poison being the main damage. So obviously, your actual DPSs, if you have like the legendary ones, are cool and all, but you're probably going to just try to stick to the typical of like Olas and Eli, I guess, could be your main DPS. You also could bring in more poisons like Dench and everything. Sigrid could be a main DPS. So if you're going to bring in Sigrid, you could bring in someone else that's going to apply debuffs, which is great because poison is a debuff, right? So you could have Sigrid and Olas. Olas goes before... Actually, it doesn't matter. What am I saying? Doesn't matter because... For Sigrid, because we're not doing AoE. They don't need to apply the debuffs before. Ignore me. But yeah, she can bring the decreased attack at least and do some solid damage. We know Sigrid can actually hit pretty hard, so you don't have to use all poisons. But I think Eli is one of our stronger poison DPSs. And if you're going to stack a ton of poisons, Dench is a really good option to go with someone like Olas. Ranged is going to be ideal. Then having another support person toward the front that can handle some hits will also be ideal. Now, Furboth will probably be a great option as a tank. He's going to heal around him as well, so if you have someone in range to be taking that hit from her ultimate, it could be someone that's going to have good survivability, like Garion, or ideally Vikuk is going to be great here because he can dispel the frost debuffs and heals, and you can build him with HP. Don't worry about him doing damage, just build him to survive. And Vikuk plus Furboth can be your main ones absorbing her ultimate hits. So that's a good way to prep. I would say you're safe to go ahead and build a Furboth and a Vikuk, and then maybe some DPS like Olas plus Sigrid. If you probably already have a Sigrid built if you're early on progressing, because she's good throughout the whole game. That might be my strategy personally, or I might just use... I don't know. I think I might go poisons this time and actually use Olas and maybe Corin or something, or Shink. Shink's, I think, melee though, so that can get a little bit more complicated, and you'd have to have some good survivability, which means you take away from his damage, so it's not ideal. Yeah, that's kind of going to be interesting. Obviously, I do have Ogok already built, so I already have my cleanser set, so I definitely don't need Vikuk personally. I'm really curious. I was kind of bummed, actually. I was hoping the boss that we face was going to be a crowd control boss, like a stunner like Bionfrey for poison, so that I could use Malik even more. But Malik brings attack penalty and control immunity, and also heals himself. And then he does bring this, like, he's kind of... I guess it's not going to matter. Control or ultimate down. We're not going to get this. I really thought he was going to be ideal for whoever they chose as bosses, but he's not. So I feel like I kind of built him already regret it, and I'm just going to end up building Furboth anyway. So I guess that's my regret already of the season. I built a Malik and don't really need him, and now I just need Furboth again. Go figure. The reliable epics are the way to go. All right, let's continue. Let's continue here. Who's next? We're gonna run on over to... Oh yeah, this is where Ripikas was, I think. And this... So Alton, okay. And cold damage versus Alton. All right. Let's go ahead and take a look at Alton. So he is our rally hero. He is going to put up some buffs. This damage bonus, and then of course rally. So this damage bonus we want to avoid as long as we can. As long as that can be dispelled, which I think it can. Now I'm questioning it, but we're probably going to want a buff stripper here as well with our cold synergy. So it's cold and radiance. I don't know that we have the best. Oh yeah, duh, Voresh. Voresh is going to be great, guys. Go figure. So Voresh for sure. And then he's just going to be dealing damage full board. So, and plus 3 orbs at random enemies. So yeah, this is like full board, so it doesn't matter. Your positioning is going to matter less for going against him. Just only position in whatever helps your team. So again, cold damage is our focus, but you can have radiant as the supports to go with you. So I think overall, we're gonna you could definitely do a ranged frost team. Single target, I think our perfect new lovely synergy of Ice Blast is gonna shine great against this boss. Why not? Single target boss, tons of damage from Sheena and Garathan. So I think I'm gonna go with that as my first attempt. Although she is, again, yeah, it doesn't really matter if she's in the front or not. She's gonna get hits anyway. So as long as I have a good tank alongside her, I think she'll be just fine. And luckily, we have Garius. I also happen to have a Cilia that could be a tank here. That's gonna be huge. She could definitely be a main DPS with one of my teams, and I don't know, she'd probably be better where we need debuff immunity or dispelling of debuffs, but if we don't need it, I mean, she's gonna be great. We'll also have Rose that might actually be good for this because she's gonna heal around the enemy and place attack penalty, so Rose will probably shine here, and she could help keep a melee damage dealer like Garathan alive. So if I find that the melee is having too much trouble and also getting extra hits, I don't think that's going to be a problem with this boss, though. I would put in, maybe I would go build Bledin just for the sake of these bosses. But I might already plan to do so, honestly. I might plan to have a Frost team plus 2 Ice Blast teams for the future, I guess, what is it? Otherworld exploration. Sorry, I was like lost for words, but I think our Ice Blast people are going to do really well here. So I think that's a pretty simple. Ice Blast and Frost are going to be great. I have my Driss to use, and he's Awakened 5 or Inspired 5, so plenty of options there. All right, that looks like a simple enough boss. Use Voresh to deal with the buffs, and it doesn't matter where you place people. You're going to be fine. All right, so then we're heading over to our next one. Is that the last one? Oh, there's a couple more. A couple more here. So we're going to head over to the spot for the next one. Oh, though this is where Ripokas was. I think. Yep, and now it's where Urzilas is. So they changed out the same. So Urzilas is a summoner, legendary, and he's going to take more damage from fire units. So Urzilas, let's see, Necro, he is someone I have that I've never used because I don't have good summoners. He's gonna put attack up, okay, on all summons. So again, someone to deal with the buffs, all right. So having 2 people around for the sake of the Necro, the fire and the Necro damage is actually really good. We're gonna need Liko and Farrar, possibly, if you want to deal with these buffs, yeah. So AoE damage is going to be good to to be able to kill his summons plus hit him. So that's going to be key here. I think, oh gosh, I don't know now. I thought I was going to build my wild team, but if we're constantly dealing with the summon skeletons and we need to kill them as well, it might be better to build a burn team and have some fun with burn this season. I really was expecting to not have any reason to build burn and just to be like, well, I guess I'm building Flora again. But with this in mind, knowing that this boss is going to be a summoner that has his skeletons, yeah, I kind of want AoE damage. So burn might be fun for this. I think I'll build my Karf. Why not? But yeah, attack up, another buff you don't want to have. So again, our fire buff strippers or preventers of Farrar or Liko are going to be great. I would say bring in the one that's going to do more damage. So let's see, 780% fire damage from Liko. What does Farrar do? Less. Okay, and more picky here. So I think I would save Farrar for the one with that needs Necro. For the Necro team, for a support hero with the Necros. And I would use Liko with the fire team because she's gonna do more damage, and hers is a bit quirkier too. Like she has to have buffs in order to dispel a buff, but at least she can put up buff prohibition and prevent the other buff in the first place, and that's on an ultimate so you could time it. But hey, we have a good excuse to use Liko now, which I am happy for, because, you know, those niche heroes that are kind of quirky, sometimes we never use them. Like, I did end up using Uteor a lot in the Continental challenges last time, which I was glad for. All right, one more boss here, guys. Sorry, longer video, but I wanted to really talk about the options for fighting so you can start preparing your teams now. I think Burn is going to be fun though, right? AoE damage, fire damage, why not? Kill the skeletons faster and have damage over time on the boss or Zillas. And our final boss is Tall War, okay, which is going to take more damage from lightning. This is a pretty simple one as well. Let's go in. So Tall War is our poison tank. He puts up his little spores. He does crowd control. This is where I would have loved Malik to go against him. Oh, I can! Yes! This is the answer. I did not build Malik in vain, guys. So he puts up accuracy penalty, attack penalty, but he also taunts and blinds people. So we want to prevent those crowd controls. Actually, it doesn't really matter if we're taunting our tank that much because we're going to be attacking him anyway, but you could avoid the taunts so he's not forced to only use basic attacks. So that actually, yeah, I'm going to be using my guy that I built. Malik will be a great tank for versus Tall War because he can dispel the control immunity. He can get rid of those blinds or the taunts, and he can put attack penalty up as well. And then when it comes to other supports, you're going to want to have, again, dispelling of debuffs. So personally, I have Ogok for one of those people, and then my second one can be VCook. So I will need VCook after all. Definitely going to need VCook as well. I'm not sure if we're going to use Stegamuffin for anything, one of our newer heroes here. He's interesting. We're not really worried about Resurrection. Yeah, I feel like he's too much for Arena, so I don't know. He's kind of quirky. Don't think he's going to be needed for this Continental type challenge, the chief challenges for the fights. But Lightning as the DPS, single target boss, Dauntless is just going to be great. Luckily for me, I already built Theraval, so that's going to be fun. And Sutha, I don't think I would use Thunderbolt because that again seems better when there's more than one enemy. So I still think I'm not going to build Thunderbolt this season. If we need a decrease attack option besides your poison support heroes because you're using them for the other boss, well, that's a perfect time to use Yola here. She actually puts attack penalty, hits multiple times. She'll be a great candidate for the Witch's Remains or the Crown of Unclean, and we'll have a couple decent hits here. And yeah, obviously I don't think we can control these bosses usually, but even without her control, she's going to do okay damage and be able to place attack penalty along with your Dauntless heroes that are going to smack. So personally, I will probably go Yola and Nimbus and Theraval, or maybe just Theraval and Yola. We'll see. I'll have to see how much spots I have room for. And let's actually take a look at his attack range to see how we have to position. He does have this hit only around him. So as a... Oh, no, he does have this too. Okay. Plants mushrooms around the enemies. So he has this same shape that we keep talking about. So you are going to want to position some allies far in the back away and have two people to tank the focus of that attack. So you're going to want a tank and then someone else, again, like I mentioned, VCook, that you can just build super high survivability plus accuracy to do his job, and he can be the one who's taking one of those extra hits or, in this case, the blind, poison, and taunting. But luckily we'll have Malik nearby to cleanse and prevent those crowd control effects. So I think that kind of sums it up, but let's let this video finish. Again, guys, please go give some love to the OP. If you got a second, just click the video, let it roll. It's only 3 minutes long. Support our fellow content creators and our mods that work really hard to help make the game great and the Discord great. Give him some love, and Thank you for watching. I hope this helped you prep your teams for the event, and I'll see you in the next video.